Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
We are very pleased today to have Vice President Věra Jourová for a discussion about the situation of the pluralism, media and journalism in Europe. We are also very pleased to have the director of the Robert Schuman Center, Brigitte Laffan, that will address with you, will open this discussion.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the European University Institute, to the Robert Schuman Center for our dialogue this afternoon on European journalism facing COVID-19. It is an honor and a privilege, Vice President, to warmly welcome you today to join us, albeit remotely, for this dialogue. I have always thought that you have one of the great portfolios in the Commission. You are responsible for our democracy and also our political system. And looking down at the range of issues that you deal with, that you confront, you've got the rule of law and values, and as we know, that's a very demanding and contested box at the moment. And then all the political system issues, the Conference on the Future of Europe, citizens, the democracy action plans, human rights, all of the citizens' initiatives. And then finally, that really crucial part of a functioning democracy, the media and communication, and how we deal with technological change and the communication revolution, fake news, and the real importance of a plurality in media ownership, because if you have either state domination of media ownership or commercial domination, then it undermines the fabric of our democracy. And I'm always very pleased that the Center for Media Pluralism and Media Freedom, CMPF, at the Schuman Center has played such an important role in monitoring developments across Europe and in helping us understand what's at stake. I look forward very much to the conversation this afternoon, and again, a very warm welcome and thank you for your time. It's very much appreciated because we know how demanding your schedule is. Thank you for sharing your time with us, and I look forward very much to our conversation.
Thank you very much, Madam Professor.
Thank you. Just to remind to the participants how will be this conversation, we will start with really a conversation with Věra Jourová. I will ask the Vice President some few questions, and we'll discuss for a few minutes. Then we'll start opening questions from all the participants to our online school. So they will ask direct questions to the Vice President, and then the Vice President will ask questions to the participants, so that this will really be a dialogue. So let's get started. If it's okay for the Vice President for this.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Parko, Madam Laffan. This is a really interesting invitation for me, not only to share my views, but also to ask questions, which is very unusual. And I am happy to be with you also to get the feedback on what we are doing. And we are doing something together, don't we? On the media, we are, I'm sure, on the same page with the goals and the principles which should be upheld in the EU. So it's important to speak to each other. Sorry, not in person. We are missing the human touch.
Well, we hope to have you soon, as soon as possible in Florence, the occasion to do this really in person.
I would love to come, yes.
Well, let me start with a first question. Last time we discussed, it was not long ago, we discussed about the media pluralism monitor and these results of the analysis of 2020 that was based on the 2 years before. And this is a tool that at the CMPF we have developed also to support somehow the Commission. Is this tool really supporting your work? How do you, let's start from our own activity, then we'll expand. But let us see.
Yes, yes. Well, if it helped, very much so. And I'm referring to the report very often. There is a lot of data which shows not only the status quo, but also the trend. And when I was preparing for the portfolio in this mandate, and I received the media in their role in democratic system in the portfolio, I announced that we will be impatiently awaiting the results of the new monitor, which is covering the time between 17 and 19. And I already suspected that the picture you will bring will not be a rosy one, because and you confirmed it by your work that the trend in Europe is worsening in several aspects. So this is the report which is helping us to work with also in other work we are undertaking, especially the rule of law report, which we issued in September, where we didn't collect extra new data regarding media, but we used the results of the monitor you delivered as a very important source of information, as trustworthy data. We are going to work further. So this is very helpful. Of course, I will always have to stress that this is the independent work, that it's not the Commission research, but so that we are transparent and very explicit. But I have always been working with the data with full conviction that they reflect the reality. And to have trustworthy data from all member states, plus some others, but for me the EU states are of the essence here, to cover the topics like political interference or political pressure, economic pressure, inclusiveness, and the conditions for work of journalists, their safety and their rights. These are exactly the matters we need to understand where we are and where we are going. And it helps us to come with, hopefully, meaningful responses and solutions, because without trustworthy data we cannot react properly. For the Commission and for myself, it is a tough task, because our competencies in the field of media are rather limited. And you see that between the previous mandate and today, we have made some progress in strengthening our voice. But we are doing it for a very serious reason, because we are newly, I think, more looking at media as the important player to uphold the rule of law and democracy in the member states, rather than only economic sector. Yeah, this impetus on this watchdog work is now more visible in what we are doing and how we try to support. The report showed the trend, which was even more, how to say, amplified by COVID crisis. Yeah, you showed us the trend between 17 and 19. Now COVID came, and COVID has one horrible feature, that it is increasing the negative trends. Whatever you look at, those who were poor before COVID, they are poorer now. I speak about the citizens. The democracies which were fragile before, we see bigger problems there now. And it comes for the media as a big paradox, because media play incredibly important role in COVID crisis. They are We rely on them to deliver the objective information. And they work under very difficult circumstances now. Not only that the aggression against the journalists is increasing and the attacks are more frequent, but also the access to information is more difficult than before COVID. Yeah, because some governments refer to the COVID crisis, an extraordinary situation, which should be vice versa the reason for being more transparent rather than close shop with information. Yeah. Also, the paradox is that the media and the journalists are the front liners in COVID, and we are applauding for very good reason all the doctors and nurses and people in security services, but we are not applauding the journalists. We do, but the general public doesn't recognize the importance of the work of the journalists who, together with the parliaments and with the citizens themselves, should be the ones to scrutinize the acts of those in power, who, especially in emergency regimes, grabbed a lot of powers. Yeah, for serious reason. I recognize that. So it's the paradox that while they work under heavy conditions, with increased demand, they have less money, because the business model, which already went against the media before COVID, now is even harsher, because the advertisers keep increasing the advertising money sent to Google and other big systems. And the business model goes against the independent journalism, and we try to balance it somehow. I'm doing a lot with the full understanding that I am a kind of interfering into the free market conditions, but we cannot be passive on that. So, for instance, what I am doing, I am really imposing a lot of pressure on the big platforms to work more with the journalists, to ask them for the fact checking, to pay them for their work. But this is just an ad hoc effort. We need to come with more systemic approach. Dear Pierluigi, I am afraid I am answering all other questions which might come. So I will stop now. Well, the answer could have been, yes, the monitor is extremely important and useful. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no, let me follow up on this, then we'll come back to what you are doing. Clearly, you are very right, the COVID crisis is accelerating some phenomena that we knew that were already there, like the digitalization. And this phenomenon, unfortunately, have put traditional media under a lot of pressure, subtracting advertising resources and subtracting sometimes direct resources. But we see that the media are looking for new solutions. Then there is the space, there was the parliament reform of the last couple of years about that is not operational in many countries, but we saw today the news that in France, for instance, on copyright, an agreement between Google and some of the major newspapers has been reached. But the question is, on this economic evolution, there can be also a more direct, I understand what you say, you're right that competencies are national a lot in the media, but the Commission is there and is important. Is there ways in which the Commission can help this transition to a new equilibrium of the media? Because we need the media, as you say.
Yeah. Well, the important step forward was the copyright directive, which was, I think, very fair in the basic principle that the journalists must be paid for their work, and that it's not possible to kind of steal the content created by the journalists and hang the content in the digital space and and collect the advertisers' money and not to pay. Well, I think that there is a huge unfairness, and now we are closing or getting closer to the implementation of this. On the economic side, I know you ask about the long-term systemic measure or solution. We will keep working on the proper response, but short-term, as you might know, we already collected quite a lot of money from this year budget for the recovery programs for the member states. And there was really a very strong push from the side of the Commission on the member states when they are creating their state aid schemes to cover media as the economic actor, as the employer which needs economic support out of the state aid schemes. And I recommended, I had a debate with the ministers of culture. I recommended the solution which they came with in Denmark. I think it was 24 million euro or something like that in the first round, direct support to the media. And I don't have the recent numbers whether the member states followed that. Of course, the direct financial support is a problematic thing. We have a proverb in Czech language. How is it? Whose bread you eat, if you eat somebody's bread, you should sing his song. And so direct financing of media, where is the line between direct financing with no vested interest in the content, and then when you pay from the public money with a clear order for the journalist to write somehow and something. Yeah, and this is also part of your study, that there is the political pressure down through the money. So these are the trends we need to stop. But coming back to imbalanced situation on the market, we will come with a set of new rules now on the 9th of December. One of the pieces of legislation will be the Digital Markets Act, which will be looking into the dominance of the gatekeepers of the big platforms on the European market, and we will try to balance somehow the situation on the market. But how it will translate into the better media situation, I still have to think it over, because we are working on that also with this goal. But the final effect, I still have to think this over, what it will mean. But definitely we need to look into these imbalances on the European market. And the new budget, there is I think 61 million euro for the media, where we will try to continue financing the roof organizations, which will help the media in troubles, which will provide the legal aid, which will maybe provide some education for the young journalists, which will support the cross-border investigative projects and so on.
Yeah, no, there is a lot of expectation for this. You mentioned the 9th of December. Probably you have moved. It was the 2nd was expected, but
just to clarify, 2nd of December will be European Democracy Action Plan.
Great.
And media action plan, if I simplify that. These are intertwined things, because a European Democracy Action Plan is looking at the media as the key players to support democracy and freedom of speech. while the media action plan is looking at the economic conditions, and it will be complemented on the 9th of December by Digital Services Act and Digital Markets Act, where we shall address the dominance of the platforms, if I simplify that, yeah, because it was the question about that.
Now, there is a lot of expectation for this proposal by the Commission, and there will be an important discussion, but the topic, let's say, we don't know the content, but the topics are the right ones, we think. Let me mention, this school is, our online school was concentrated especially on COVID, on the COVID. And one thing that emerged during the school is that professional journalism, good quality media, even in a pandemic, is a bit of a paradox, because the economic sources are diminishing, but the need for quality news is there. In fact, we saw statistics that the best, the most important newspaper or televisions or public broadcaster were more sought by the audience than before during the pandemic. So you see, there is really a tension between the importance of the profession and his needs. I think that this reform will be very important for also helping somehow to find a new equilibrium. What we are looking for is a new equilibrium in which professional journalism is useful to society and to democracy, but can live. And I understand what you were saying, that it's difficult to give public money directly. That's not an easy way. However, let me say that to have different level may help sometimes. I mean, is if Europe gives money to media locally, is different than if a local government does it. There is a regional dimension that could help somehow. But I understand that it's something to think about seriously.
It is also difficult to invade into where the advertisers' money go, not only where the public money goes, because the public sector is also advertiser and a massive advertiser, and we cannot interfere in that. But I think that there is something already moving, or some reflection in advertisers' wealth. Because, for instance, we saw the decreased willingness of big advertisers to connect their brands with illegal content or harsh content or disinformation, fake news. And digital wealth, unfortunately, is affected by that heavily. This is something which is very visible, that the digital platforms are opening not only the space for the people with goodwill and good information, but also for many evil actors. And the advertisers, and we saw it from many of them, said, no, we are not going to advertise here and there. And maybe together with this trend, we may see, but you are expert on that, but we may see gradually something which I saw is the case, for instance, of New York Times, which are increasing the number of issues which they publish in paper version or in digital version, but that the interest of people to read trustworthy, verified information, that it is already somehow recognized by those who are selling shoes and Coca-Cola, or I don't know what else. So there is something happening in the business world. The Commission has very limited chance to influence that, but I am doing my best. So on the 2nd of December, you will see more how we want to continue, and believe me, we will squeeze all our power to to throw it on the negative things.
Yes, thank you. Let me open the floor for discussion. If you agree, as President, let's listen to the others. For first, I would like to have Elda Broge to ask a question, intervene. Elda.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you very much, Madame Jourova, for being with us. Let me use this opportunity. I have the floor to thank also the members of the NPM network that I see are connected with this call, in particular Beata Klimkiewicz and Evangelia Psychojopoulou from Poland and Greece, because without the network, this exercise of the NPM would be really more difficult, definitely. So I would like to ask a question that is somehow linked with the broader topic of the rule of law, because there is a big debate in academic and policy-making circles on how digital development impacts media pluralism. So one of the main topic is on the main issues at stake is online disinformation and the role of digital platforms in, on one hand, boosting and on the other limiting disinformation itself. What is your take on that, and what do you think the EU should or will do in that regard? Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Elda. And I also want to say or reiterate what you said at the beginning, that I'm grateful for the network, because I didn't say it at the beginning, that the valuable thing on the monitor is that it is really covering in a very unique way the whole Europe, and the work of many national experts is quite visible there and very useful. On your question, well, this is one of the most difficult tasks for me here, because you know, if I may be a little bit personal, I'm not a technically educated person. Yeah, I studied first philosophy and social anthropology, and then the law. And we have the tendency to relativize things. And I was listening at university several years, the explanations regarding what is the truth and what is the lie. And now suddenly, and it was a headache because who knows, who can decide? And now this headache translated into my portfolio, which Madam Professor Lafan appreciated so much at the beginning, that we are now to set the rules to protect the truth and to minimize the effect of lying on the society. Can you imagine? Not only that, to do so while preserving the freedom of speech. So it is a crucial task, and you will see on the 2nd of December when we published the European Democracy Action Plan, and then 9 of December when we will adopt the Digital Services Act, how we managed that. Because in Digital Services Act, there will be very clear obligation for the platforms to increase their actions and activities against illegal content, which is hate speech, which is extremism and terrorism, and which is child pornography. But disinformation, it's more difficult to define, and very difficult to say it is illegal content, because it is easy to abuse that. You saw in emergency regimes, for instance, in Hungary, the big fear that the criminal offense which appeared in the criminal law, the distribution of fake news, will be abused against the journalists. Remember the debate? So I always say that while the colleagues who are dealing with illegal content, they can take the heavyweight weapons, I have to work in gloves, because speaking about disinformation and all the actions against that, we have to be very careful, and the freedom of speech principle must be the primary one. However, we will propose some rules and some principles. First of all, we will announce that we will upgrade the code of practice, which we adopted last year, where there are clear commitments for the platforms, what to do. I never wanted them to remove any content, but for me, labeling and fact-checking is okay. Yeah, but they still have a margin of maneuver how to approach the demand from us. And the code of practice proved to be useful, so we will upgrade it. I will invite more platforms. I think at this moment we have 3 or 4 out of 11,000 platforms in Europe. But these 4 cover more than 90% of the market. So we have the key, the big fish is there. And we will work further with them. We will work with NATO on the code and rapid alert system, because this is also a security issue. This is about foreign influence coming from the sites where they do not like EU to flourish, as we all know. And we will increase the conditions against the disinformation online before elections. So we will focus on electoral campaigns. We did an exceptional thing in COVID context. In July, we reacted on disinformation online against the health protective measures, because there appeared a lot, thousands of dangerous advices and information which could have done harm to the people's health. And in this special case, we issued a communication where we work with the term authoritative content. Do you hear how it sounds? Exceptional crisis, exceptional time. We speak about authoritative content, which we mean by the information from the health authorities, because there must be some authority in the time of crisis. We will now increase our activities against anti-vaccination campaigns. This is only starting now. Yeah, and we will be very intensively communicating proactively pro-vaccination, but also decreasing the impact of disinformation. And I have confirmation from Google and Facebook that they will do their best. So I try to engage them in good things rather than suppress them, because I think it's more useful way. But of course, they will have to face the rules. The new rules, which increase the responsibility, which increase the pressure on them in many ways. I know I speak too long, but I wanted to explain the differences between different kinds of content and the powers of the big tech.
These are these are very major issues, and we are also working also at the European University Institute, as you know, also with the EDMO project we are trying to develop. Let me take a question from the floor. Do you believe that the COVID pandemic has brought more attention from the media and from the general public to the EU politics? For example, regarding the purchase of medical supply, the recovery fund, violation of the rule of law in certain member states. You think there is more attention now from the institutions? That seems to me the question. To
the rule of law matters?
Rule of law, but in general, from the importance of, because of the pandemic, of the importance of...
I would say, and it will be very simple answer, I would say that there is an increased hunger for trustworthy information. That after so many years, the expert's voice has been a kind of rehabilitated. and the professional media who are really trustworthy in delivering the facts and the facts right have had bigger attention. But again, the paradox that it is not accompanied with the money, that's the conflict now. But yes, I would say so. And more we hear from the member states that the people are leaving some of the media they were used to read, especially the digital servers, and they are more and more looking for really more trustworthy sources. That is this, I think, quite positive trend.
Yes, thank you. Well, now our participants to the school can begin to ask questions if they want. They just you can use your you can unmute and ask questions to Vice President Jourová if you want.
We have a hand raised from Bishop Bako on the side.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello, do you hear me now?
Hello, yes.
I am a journalist from Hungary, and I have actually more questions, but I will be brief. The first one is, you surely heard that last week recordings were leaked in which at the Hungarian public broadcaster, journalists were politically instructed how to cover the campaign before the European elections last year. They were said that they should push the appropriate narrative about migrants and Brussels, and if they don't like that, they may be fired. So my question is whether you were surprised about that, and the Commission will take or could take any steps on this, and how does it affect the principle of democracy, especially with regard to the fact that it happened before the European elections, so to an election of a European body. And my other question about media is, which I hope you can answer. 2 years ago, pro-governmental Hungarian publishers made a fusion to a foundation, the Central European Press and Media Foundation. And then the Commission promised to deal with that from the point of view of competition law, because the Hungarian competition authorities didn't investigate the case. How is it proceeding, and when we can expect any developments?
Yes, yes, serious questions about serious things, and I think I should be short, so I will simplify a little bit. This was a leak, but the leak, and the Commission always has a very dry answer. We are not commenting on leaks. But I think it was very illustrative, and it also showed or proved what we read in the Hungary report from the Monitor. Yeah, that there is this kind of political influence. And by the way, I heard it directly when I spoke to many Hungarian journalists, that in some media there is this ordered narrative, appropriate narrative, which should be liked by those in power. So it was not a surprise for me, and we are addressing this issue in the rule of law report. In the Hungarian report, we are also discussing this at the in the council under the Article 7 procedure. So it is a well-known situation, and if the question was whether I'm surprised, well, it just illustrates what we already saw before in some of the descriptions. On the cartel and the competition issue, when it comes to KESMA, which is the Hungarian media cartel, it is because our competition rules are designed to address the big mergers and big entities on the European single market, and KESMA is far below the threshold. Yeah, so this is one trap on the European side. The other trap on Hungarian side is that KESMA has the exclusivity, they have an exception, and they are not covered by the Hungarian competition rules and not under the oversight of the Hungarian competition body. What I know, you didn't want to hear the analysis, you wanted to hear the solution. So I can tell you that we have continuous discussion with Margaret Vestager, who is our competition vice president. We try to find the ways how to address this issue by the competition rules, but it will require more time, and I cannot guarantee that we will manage.
Thank you.
There is another question from the floor. During the pandemic, we have identified many incidents through the monitoring of the journalist safety. Many incidents of media workers were prevented from doing their jobs by physical or verbal attacks, by COVID deniers, by forces of law and order sometimes. Some have been hospitalized with injuries. What more can the EU do to protect journalist safety?
The most dangerous attacks are those who are blessed by the highest political level. Yeah, because whenever we see politicians attacking the journalists, without overestimating the role of the politicians as the moral role models. For many, these harsh sentences, harsh language against the journalist means that it is authorized, it is normal, it is allowed. So whenever I see such attacks, I contact the respective country or the politician. We have a debate about decent communication. Of course, always what I hear is we only attack the journalists who do not do the proper job. And here comes the difficulty, because the proper job doesn't mean that they write what the politicians want to read. Yeah, that's for me, of course, as a politician, there are many uncomfortable situations for me when I read things about me. I read articles about me read by Daphne Caruana Galizia, who was murdered in Malta, the hero of European journalism, who is the victim of one of the horrible attacks. So we have to refrain from that. The second thing, as I said, I had a debate with the ministers about creating the conditions for the journalists to do safely the job. I discussed it separately with several ministers of Home Affairs, because this is about law enforcement action. The journalists should maybe trust more the law enforcement institutions and report on the threats and attacks. We are providing the legal aid where needed, and there are also several shelters prepared for the journalists under the threats. But I recognize that this is not a big thing, because it cannot cover the whole Europe. So well, this is, but I don't want to sound alibistic, but this is for the member states to pay attention to this issue and to provide security. And the case of Malta and Slovakia should serve as a memento, because if nothing else, to have the murdered journalists, it is a big reputational issue for the member states, yeah, in light of the democratic society. So
yes, well, we promised that you have some young journalists also, some from our team, but and then from the online school. So we wanted to give you, Vice President, what you would ask to young journalists at this moment. What they have to do.
Many questions, because this is a valuable opportunity for me. I was at a journalist school in Czechia 7 years ago, and we had a good chat and drink, and I asked them, isn't it boring to do journalism in such peaceful times? And it's not the case anymore. Yeah, so this is this is a risky job, and I admire all the young people who decide to do the job, and I want to wish all of you good luck. But I maybe would like to hear from your personal experience during this crisis. What do you feel is the most complicated now in your daily work as a journalist?
Okay, so hello everyone. I'm a journalist from Hungary as well, and I graduated in the summer, and it was the first really difficult thing for me to find a proper job after graduating and find a job in this crisis. But I managed to find a job, but I'm working for a daily newspaper, and it was also a difficult thing for the newspaper to keep up its business model in this time, because when COVID came, Pesti Hírlap, the newspaper, went to being a weekly newspaper, because people are not on the streets. But I feel the urge and feel the importance of making a daily newspaper for people, especially in Hungary, where we have these not valuable media platforms and even daily newspapers. So people need something to have information from after a long work day, and just going through the news and knowing what is going on with COVID and with politics. And yeah, so this is how I feel.
Yeah, thank you. And courage.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
luck.
If I may, aside from the difficulties of finding jobs, there's also a bit of an issue with accessing sources, because if the subject matter is a little bit more delicate, you can't just liaise with them online, is rather limiting compared to meeting them in person. And it also has, as my colleague said earlier, completely jeopardized funding. And in many cases, there's an issue of your protection if you're working as a journalist during a pandemic, if you're sufficiently protected from the virus itself. And I work in Italy and the UK. So that's been, I think, a very predominant issue we found throughout the course as well, discussing it as part of our personal experiences, especially in a country such as Italy, where with the media being so polarized and trust towards media authorities and journalists being very low, it adds another level of threat, of precarity to the mix.
Do you feel in the public opinion, the increasing recognition of the work of the journalists?
Personally, I haven't seen it in great making great strides in that direction. Italy's still sort of the same sort of public discourse. If we look at social media, how people are approaching journalists, how they talk about the media, and I'm not just talking conspiracy theories, whereas in the UK, in some ways there's more trust in official sources. In other ways, there's debates on how certain topics have been handled. Recently, the scandal concerning PPE provision, which was botched by the UK government, was discussed differently in different media sources. So even within the information ecosphere or cybersphere, there's a lot of debate on that. I think it's improved more in the UK than it has in Italy, definitely. Thank you.
May I have one more question? It will be a very selfish question. after what you heard from me, what would be your advice to me? What should we done next? Because I told you, unfortunately, many times this is what we cannot do, but due to the lack of competencies. But maybe you can advise me. What would you do? What do you think is the necessary or needed European Union action? For instance, on the business models, which are now eating the more and more the bread for the journalists.
Okay, so in the meanwhile, I can just share my experience regarding your question. So I'm a member of the CMPF team, but I'm a former journalist. And if I decided to switch from journalism to research, it's also because I felt the risk of self-censorship at some point, because you have to balance in between the moment where the pressure is too difficult, you can't assume that. The moment where you think that you need to pay your rent and you need to keep a job. And the moment where you have to say what you think is right. So at some point, I think that for me, the difficult to balance those three things was too much. And I was probably falling in the risk of being a bad journalist, doing self-censorship on myself to keep my job, not to feel so much pressure. So I decided to choose at that moment.
It was very professional decision. I admire that. Also, there is the aspect of the family, and I believe that the journalists also, many, especially women who have children, they might be under special kind of pressure. And to compare it with my situation, I declared 3 years ago that I'm going to cancel my Facebook account because I'm fed up of it. It was just the drainage of, how to put it in diplomatic language, of dirt. And the day after, all the haters moved to the Facebook of my daughter. And partly to my sons, I have a daughter and son, and she didn't tell me anything about that. Only after some time, somebody else from the family asked me, how does she cope with it? And I didn't know that the haters moved to her Facebook account. So since then, from time to time, I am sitting with my children and asking them, can you stand it? Are you still okay with my political engagement? And I know they will always tell me, yes, Mama, go on, continue. Can you imagine they even agree with my politics and with my opinion, which is a practical thing when your family is supporting you. But I inevitably, I feel the need to check from time to time whether they are still okay, because this is the pressure for everyone else. So I believe that the journalists have very similar feeling, and it can be similarly difficult to cope with the increase of security threats and these very easy attacks which come from the digital area. We are now discussing the things regarding digital. There is the issue of anonymity.
Yes.
For me, as for the lawyer, and for somebody who will always defend the freedom of speech, I have an issue to fight for or protect the freedom of speech of somebody who doesn't have identity. Yeah? Somebody who we don't know who he is or who she is. And it is a big issue. And whenever I raise the issue of anonymity, that we should have decent, civilized discussion online, which means that we know who I speak to. I always hear the argument that if we remove the principle of anonymity, It will be abused by the states which have totalitarian tendencies, including some member states. Yeah, so this is such a difficult issue, and we will need more years to find the equilibrium and the proper balance for digital world and for the decent and civilized and still open and democratic debate, where the journalists also have a very crucial point. Sorry, I deviated a little bit somewhere else, but we are now in the middle of the discussions about that. Tatiana has a comment.
Yeah, we were still waiting a couple of comments from the floor. I don't think Adriana is written. Yeah, now it's Adriana. There's a suggestion for the EC. My suggestion for the EC would be to offer clear guidelines on how member states should communicate about the national implementation of EU strategy to tackle the spread of online disinformation. There's been a lot of criticism related to the institutional communications on the issue, and in particular, journalists have reacted or responded negatively to some of the initiatives undertaken by the governments. Example, the creation of a commission comprising Spain Intelligence Service, CNI, the Foreign Minister and Defense Minister to combat disinformation. Clearly, disinformation is that creates a tension.
Guidelines, yeah. Let me think about it. Can you send me by mail this suggestion, please? You know my mail. I mean, the organizers of this chat. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. I will be thinking about that. This is extremely delicate thing, and we discuss with the governments how to apply the rules. But inevitably, you have to get to the question, who is the arbiter of the truth? And I simply do not want the ministries in our countries to be the arbiters of the truth. I do not want to be the commissioner of truth. And I could do well the job. No, I'm joking. Question, Tatiana, regarding the need for a joint plan to purchase magazine. This is happening. This is now happening, the joint purchase. We are now working on the joint purchase of the quick tests, rapid tests, and of course the vaccines. So we are doing now so many things which we could not even imagine a year ago, because the competencies in health for the EU are very, very low. And now we are organizing the collective purchasing, and we had to adapt to new reality and to be efficient, because this is about lives and health of people, and about the economy and everything else, and about democracy also. So incidents through our monitoring, many incidents where media workers have been prevented from, Yes, we spoke about that. Yes, this is, of course, the aggression is, and the efforts to silence the journalists are not only by the lack of access to information is on the rise, but some more. Yeah, I think I spoke about that before already.
Well, I think we, unless there are, I think we use the time that the Vice President has allocated for us, and I know that she will, she has many other things to do, but let me say that this was very, very, very nice to conclude our online school. It's very important. Let me also obviously thank the Vice President, but thank also both the team and the local teams that have contributed to this activity, and some of them are connected here. I think that emerged from this discussion that there are many issues that are very important. There is a step, something that we all have to recognize, a step ahead, this importance of this new milestone of the rule of law, in which the independence of media and pluralism has become one of the elements of the reflection, is very very, very important step ahead in a difficult moment like this one. Clearly, we have a lot of problems, especially these economic problems for the media structures that are under a serious pressure, and the economic pressure becomes self-censoring, becomes a lot of problems to have professional journalism, and we need it. So I think that the expectations for what the Commission is going to propose, and then the debate with the Parliament and the Council, are very high, and I think will be a very important. The impression is that after Brexit and after the last, not this one, the previous one, American election, somehow something has happened that has shown how important it is to have good journalism for a society and for democracy. I think former President Obama today wrote somewhere that we should be able to come back to the facts. Only that to come back to the facts, journalism is very important, and professional journalism.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be the arbiter of truth, but come back to the facts would be an important step to heal a lot of problems of our society. But let me thank again Vice President Jourová. I know that you are doing and are putting a lot of effort and enthusiasm in this, and passion, and we are very happy about this, and we will do all we can to help in this effort. And I'm sure
I want to thank you for your not only for today's debate, but also for all the fantastic cooperation and the results of your work, which are helping us to take the decisions based on the facts which we need. So thank you very much, and I want to wish the participants of the school, to all of you, to make the best use of the information and experience you gained during the school, and have courage and open mind for your work, because your role is absolutely indispensable in not only in current situation, but mainly in current situation. Thank you very much, and I deeply wish maybe next year, this time, we might meet in person. What do you think?
absolutely.
High time to meet. Where are the people? Yes, so let's try, and good luck for everything you are doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.